Good morning, everyone. I'm Megan Cullop, along here with Scott Michlin.
Good morning, Megan Cullop. It's Thursday, February the 25th, 2021.
Week 50.
Week 50.
Week 50.
Wow.
I know. By the way...
Get this show an AARP card.
Yes.
Right?
Oh my gosh. Our viewers and listeners both cannot see the fact that you do the drum solo at the beginning of
every show.
Yeah.
Yes, because we like that part of and that keeps me from talking before the time is time to talk.
That's true.
Basically. So there you go.
Even though I open the show.
That's true. But it's all right. Welcome, everyone. It's great to have you here. We are going to be talking to some great guests this morning, including Farmington Mayor Nate Duckett, who is going to be calling in the next few moments to join us, and then Sally Marquez, the Executive Director of the Mexico Activities Association, for an update on school sports and other activities.
Right, which is really important, too. I know a lot of kids and families, so we're moving in a reopening direction.
Most definitely, and that brings us kind of to our first topic this morning, which is the reopening.
Which is good news.
We are happy to share the positive news, right, of the move to yellow for San Juan County and other counties in our state. But the new map came out, and of course they are measuring the numbers of test positivity rates in a community and also the number of cases per 100,000 people. And so that's what moves you from red to yellow to green to, and then the new level, there's a new level now, turquoise.
I know.
Which the state announced yesterday as well, because apparently some counties are doing so well
that they needed a turquoise.
That they can go to turquoise, which opens them up even further than the green level.
Yeah, I will say I did send you a text last night about this, about how I find it so funny, the minute color differences here, like the turquoise.
Well, in the map, it's kind of hard to see the difference between green and turquoise.
It is, but
they're trying.
It's pretty funny to me. I don't know. I just remember this old SNL skit that happened around travel restrictions post 9/11. They were talking about color schemes and taupe and magenta and
all that stuff.
All that type of stuff.
I hear you.
Yeah.
But I think, unfortunately, I think in the counties that have achieved the turquoise level, which would open up maybe some bars and maybe some other like concert venues and things like that, there aren't a lot of those things in these counties.
That's true. Somebody
was making a comment this morning. There's not a lot of nightlife in Pie Town.
Is that a town?
It's a place. Oh, yeah.
And
it's in turquoise.
They serve pie?
They, used to.
I hope.
I think they used to.
They used to?
I think the pie shop closed in Pie Town. I don't think it survived COVID. I'm afraid not. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, too, because I didn't get to experience it before it closed.
I know.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Pie Town.
And you got to go there March 14th.
Oh, right, because the
Pie Day.
Pie Day.
In Pie Town.
3.14.
There you go.
Yeah.
There's a whole thing.
Wow.
Yeah. Anywho, back to the show.
Okay, yeah, sorry.
Megan's
I hear pies.
Stream of consciousness.
Okay. Focus. We're back to numbers. Okay, this is important.
But in San Juan County, we can see, and of course, everyone remembers 2 weeks ago, our test positivity rate was that 5.01% that got everyone annoyed because of that 0.1%. 0.01%.
Yeah, 0.01%.
Anyway, in the last 2 weeks, though, that has fallen now from 5.01% to 2.65%. So again, almost half, which is great news. Mm-hmm. And then again, the average daily cases that needs to be 8 per 100,000 is now at 10.5 per 100,000. And the reason that's important is once those average daily cases number gets below 8, and our test positivity rate remains below 5, that moves us into the green.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what we're hoping to do.
That's what we're aiming for.
So, exactly. And our first guest is calling in right on time.
All right.
He's like a train. He's on schedule.
Like a German clock.
That's right. Mayor Nate Duckett is joining us on the program this morning. Mr. Mayor, good morning.
Good morning, everyone. How are you guys?
We are good. We're sharing the positive news, and so we're glad you're here to share it with us, this moving of San Juan County from red to yellow, which is great. We would like to get to green and maybe even to turquoise, but this is one step in the right direction, isn't it?
I completely agree. It's a little bit brighter outside this morning, so I got to feel that the restaurant owners and employees and just in general the attitude of the community has to be in a much more positive place today as we continue to march forward.
Very good. And Mr. Mayor, let me ask you a bit about, are you hearing anything from the restaurants in the community about their plans? I saw a lot of Facebook posts about, restaurants getting ready to reopen today for some capacity, 33% indoor dining and things along that line, which makes, I think, a big difference. Even though they can't reopen at 100%, that 33% should certainly help some of these restaurants that have been really hanging on or trying to hang on, right?
No, it's going to help big time. I had conversations yesterday, Scott, with probably a half dozen or more restaurant owners, and the news as it was coming out, there was a little bit of a somebody had posted that it was a 50% indoor opening, and so we worked hard to make sure that the correct information was going out there. We want the restaurants to be successful in this reopening. We want the community to be successful in this reopening. So we've got to make sure we're taking necessary precautions, following the COVID safe practices within the restaurants and throughout the community, so we can keep getting open and more open.
Yeah, great. And hello, Mayor of the Mesa. But
Hi, Rock and Red.
Hey, let's ask this question about what other venues are opening at limited capacities.
I knew I should have had a form here in front of me. There's nothing that I can tell you as far as within the city of Farmington. The museum's open, the library's open. I think we get more capacity in those facilities. There is opportunity now, of course, for outdoor events, which is good. Hopefully we can get some guidance in regards to, youth sports for the summer. The guidance that they put out 2 weeks ago, I think, basically had stated no competitive sports for recreation leagues, and essentially that would have, it has a huge impact on teams coming from, throughout the Southwest to come and play tournaments here in New Mexico. So I can tell you that the venues that help host those, Albuquerque Convention Center, the Albuquerque Sports Complex, I have a friend who works there. Their industry has been decimated by this. So we're hoping that we can see some movement forward where we'll start getting some of those facilities open, movie theaters. But I think we're still a little bit ways off of that based on at least the history of the Department of Health here and the governor's stance. So, but yeah, the order's online. I'm sorry, I don't have it here in front of me. We're
gonna call it up right now, Mr. Mayor, because we have the technology, and not to put you on the spot, but we were able to show kind of the yellow levels here of what that means. So again, we can just kind of go through it briefly with everyone. But essential businesses, no capacity restrictions, but again, they are limited to operations that are only those absolutely necessary. Essential retail spaces are at 33% of maximum capacity, indoor and outdoor. Food and drink, if New Mexico Safe certified, and that again should be 33% of maximum capacity for indoor dining, 75% for outdoor. Close contact businesses, 33% of maximum capacity, or 20 customers at one time, whichever is smaller, and 33% of any outdoor space on the premises. That's the yellow level. Large entertainment venues, 25% maximum capacity for outdoor space on premises. Indoor, not permitted, with the limited exception of operating up to 25% of maximum capacity for recording and broadcasting entertainment without any in-person attendance. And as we scroll up on the screen, we can see a bit more of what the yellow
I got it pulled up here now.
talks about.
Facilities. I mean, in yellow, there's still a lot of restrictions in this, but I think it gives opportunity for people to be creative.
Correct.
I'd love to see us, large entertainment venues. I'd love to see us, as far as local arts go, be able to start holding some concerts and things outside. And we've got a big celebration coming with downtown opening, and we want to make that kind of a venue, so to speak, for some celebratory fun. But
you bet.
Yeah.
The other things that we're mentioning too, Mr. Mayor, how's the worship, of course, get to increase their indoor capacity with this. Hotels and motels get to increase, and then mass gatherings is still limited to 10 people or 80 vehicles. And so that's what the yellow level is talking about this morning.
Yeah.
So, very good.
Yeah, and here's the thing, guys. We have to be very, very, I don't want to say weary. Weary may not be the best choice of words, but, the second largest city in New Mexico was open 2 weeks ago, and this morning it's been shut back down. So Dona Ana County was yellow 2 weeks ago, and yesterday at 2:30 they became red again. I spoke to Mayor Ken out of Las Cruces, and we're talking about this as a mayor's council, because the mayors frankly have not had their voices heard at all. And I have to tell you, from a standpoint that you recognize that your state legislatures' voices have not been heard throughout this pandemic. The Mayor's Council was put together by the governor. I think we've just been basically called to say that she formed the Mayor's Council at this point. There's some frustration in that group. We would like to see the public health order amended more. Perhaps, another color being added to it. We've seen Colorado do a similar thing where they've had to adapt. They've been flexible. They've added colors and different gating criteria. So I'm happy that, that she's added a turquoise level, so to speak. Maybe there's a sandstone level in there somewhere where, we can keep restaurants open. But I think that's what we're seeing here from mayors all across the state, is a frustration to get everything open to some degree.
Yeah. So what kind of, if you got to sort of push the governor to do what you would like to see, what would you like to see happening right now?
Well, I've been a proponent from the very beginning that there's been winners and losers chosen in this pandemic economy. And if you're a big box retailer, you're a winner. And if you're a small business, you're a loser. And I don't think I don't think that was fair. And so I would like to see everything open, at some limited capacity if that's the best thing to do. But, there's been a constant movement of we need to follow the science, but there's a lot of ambiguity in the numbers that have been chosen for the gating criteria. And having been, obviously San Juan County last week, to miss the opportunity to reopen 2 weeks ago because of 0.001% is pretty foolish in my mind from the standpoint of the data. These tests that we're having, there's a lot of false positives, a lot of false negatives in the testing realm. They move numbers around. We filed a information request with the Department of Health to get clarification on how our numbers are different from what they're posting on a daily basis. They did not come back with any specifics regarding our numbers. They just kind of gave us their methodology. That methodology is based on, quote unquote experience. And you have to think, surely within this we build up some sort of wall for data error. For these counties, wouldn't the state want to celebrate? Look how our plan is working. We're getting people open. We have to keep doing what we're doing and provide that type of goal-minded ideology to push people forward in a positive way. But instead, 2 weeks ago, for one positive COVID case, as was explained to me by Dr. Scrace, one positive COVID case kept us from opening. So now we're open. We need to stay open. We need to recognize that over 26% of this county has now been vaccinated. I think that's a big deal. I think we're leading the state actually in regards to percentage of population vaccinated. That has to be, in my mind, brought into the equation of the gating criteria. Less people are going to get tested. There's less people who are sick. So if we continue to use tests as the benchmark for the gating criteria, I think we're going to lose out. Vaccinations have to be included in there. So we're recommending some of these things. We have a call today with the governor's office, and we'll see what happens.
Very good. And I think the governor has an update, too, statewide, maybe today or tomorrow, if I remember correctly, Mr. Mayor.
They announced it today.
Coming up this afternoon.
3:30, yeah.
Got you. You mentioned the numbers from 2 weeks ago, and I wanted to follow up on that because I believe the city of Farmington and the county were two entities that were doing that Freedom of Information request for some of the documentation, the methodology, and getting those numbers. And the state responded to say, we're going to get those to you, and it'll take us, 2 weeks or however long the law allows them to take to compile these things that has been requested. Is that kind of where things stand with that request now?
No, we got the request on Monday.
Oh, you did? Pardon me.
They didn't give us any specifics in it. We have filed another information request now because they did not provide specifics, but we think there needs to be transparency. The numbers that are posted daily for positive and negative cases do not match the numbers that they use at the 2 week marks. So they explain to some degree that, they remove duplicate tests, they take out any tests that come from state and federal prisons, things of that nature. But there had been communication. This is interesting stuff, and this is partially why we're kind of skeptical about how this data is being used. Is there was a Department of Health employee who provided information to the San Juan County Detention Center that told them not to report the negative cases from rapid response tests. They told them not to report the negative cases, only the positive cases, and that information came out, I believe, in January. So there was, dozens, if not hundreds, of negative cases that were not included in our numbers during that 2-week period prior to us being, continuing to be locked down. So we were able to get those numbers to them for this past 2-week period, which no doubt helped our infection rate. It's interesting, if you go to the CDC website, our infection rate on the CDC website is different than the infection rate that they're calculating. I mean, there's just so many numbers that are out there. And I think, again, if you're going to set a good, transparent gating criteria, you have to build in for data error. And frankly, they very shamelessly looked us in the eye and said, we feel 99.9% sure confident that the data we're using is accurate. So I guess you have to be that way. I guess if you're going to create a system, you have to support it. And we just would like to know more about the system and specifically about San Juan County's numbers.
That makes sense. And so let's end on a, positive, optimistic, looking forward note. Are we going to have like a downtown bash let's like do a get to green party downtown, Nate?
I'm with you. Turquoise or uranium. I'm just trying to figure out
whatever color.
Wait, uranium.
Yeah, what's the next color look like? I mean,
magenta.
We got to get some New Mexico colors in there. Yeah, I think it's going to be I'm looking forward to this. I'm looking forward to watching these numbers fall, to people getting healthy, businesses getting back open, life resuming. We've got a lot to offer here in San Juan County and the city of Farmington to quality of life, and we want to continue to spread that message. It's a very positive message, and I appreciate what you all do here on the show and representing that as well. So, hey, it's a good day. It's brighter outside. Businesses are opening. Let's keep moving forward and go get vaccinated.
Yes, I agree. Definitely don't be afraid of the vaccines. It's pretty easy peasy, and the health department's doing an amazing job rolling that out efficiently, and so we're thankful to them. And of course, Mayor Nate Duckett, thanks so much for joining us. We're thankful for you as well.
Always happy to be on the show. It's an honor, and appreciate all you guys are doing and keeping people informed. So go out there and win the day.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Appreciate it very much. Mayor Nate Duckett, our guest this morning here on KSJE. Great to hear from him, and great to celebrate the transition to yellow. As he mentioned, though, again, we need to be vigilant is the word I was thinking of, and the number, to keep the numbers where we want them, because he mentioned Las Cruces slipping back into the red. And that'd be the worst thing we can do for our restaurants and our businesses, to kind of put our guard down, and then they have to shut back down again to indoor dining. So
it is so
for
tough.
2 weeks, we're going to enjoy going out to eat and do it safely. And again, if you feel uncomfortable going out to eat, you can still do takeout. That hasn't changed at all. So
no.
And as the mayor said, when the vaccine is available to you, get it.
Yeah.
Because
we both got it.
We both got it.
And we're here.
We did, and we
and
appreciate.
I
appreciate being able to get it. We don't know, no bad side effects, really.
Not really.
No,
very mild.
So, and I appreciate the college being able to get vaccines for us here at KSJE. So we are in good shape, but we want the community to be in good shape.
That's right.
That's the whole idea. So
That's
again, we appreciate the mayor calling in, and there's a look at the map once again with the counties in yellow. As you can see, just to our south, McKinley County, Gallup is still red. And so there's Doña Ana, Las Cruces still in red, and 2 other counties in the southern part of our state that are still in the red zone, basically. And so that's an issue, and so we need to be vigilant, as we said. So moving on. Right?
Moving on.
We have some other things to share. Again, the numbers. So again, from yesterday, the numbers continue to be low. 281 new cases in New Mexico for a total of 181,332. San Juan County saw 22 new cases yesterday. Again, those numbers have been fairly low. They used to be triple digits, if you remember. And so we want to keep those down to keep that, those average numbers to that 10 or less, which is what we're hoping for. And so we're now at 13,378. There were 12 additional deaths in New Mexico. We're still seeing high numbers of deaths, unfortunately, for a total of 3,562. One of those was in San Juan County. We now have a total of 410 deaths here in San Juan County from COVID-19, and the recoveries, of course, continue to increase as well. An additional 1,500 plus for 125,064 recoveries in New Mexico. So that's great news as well to share. Other news stories, again, from KSJE.com. As we mentioned, the stories, of course, the county has reached yellow status. The other details about the red to green restrictions, adding the turquoise level to give you more details about what that means. It's on our website. You can check it out, KSJE.com. There are the state numbers that we just shared with you as well, and the Navajo Nation numbers. And again, those were additional 25 cases across the Navajo Nation yesterday for a total now of 29,602, and no additional deaths on the Navajo Nation from Tuesday, but their total of deaths is now still 1,152.
Yeah, I bet that people are thankful that they no longer have the curfews.
Well, they still have a stay-at-home order, though, as it shows
okay.
there, right? And that's through March 8th.
Okay.
So that's next week.
Got it.
So we'll see what they decide to do at that point. But hopefully their numbers are low enough that they can maybe adjust some of those decisions as well in the Navajo Nation. So there you go. Johns
Great.
Hopkins, where are we?
We are at confirmed United States cases at 28,336,782, and the United States confirmed deaths, we are now at 500,000, so 505,945
Deaths.
Yeah.
Got it. Tragic, right?
Yeah.
I mean, and seeing some of the, when we hit 500,000, of course, the media will pick on that number because it's such a milestone number, a tragic milestone number. The ceremony at the White House I thought was very touching and very poignant. And a lot of folks were replaying kind of some of the predictions back in last spring when they were predicting maybe 250,000, and people thought that was a horrific number, and how could we ever let that happen?
Right.
And here we are.
And here
double
we are.
that.
Yeah.
Double that. Mm-hmm. So sad and unfortunate and unavoidable.
Yeah.
I think, had things gone differently.
Yeah.
A reminder about the testing. We've talked about the importance of testing, right? Even if you don't have symptoms,
if you
you're
feel like you've
encouraged
come into contact with somebody
to get tested.
Yeah, perhaps you've recently traveled. Yeah.
Right. So that's happening out at McGee Park. It has been taken over by Curative, so you have to register online at that website, curative.com, or you can call them, 888-702-9042. These are for folks who are listening on the radio, 888-702-9042. They are open Monday through Friday from 8 to 3 and 8 to 2 on Saturday at McGee Park. Today, we will mention Thursday, February 25th. They are going to be closed for maybe an hour and a half, I believe around 11 a.m. For a funeral procession leaving McGee Park. So the testing site will be closed during that time. So just be aware of that if you're heading out today to get your test. But you can enter from US 64 and you exit out onto County Road 5500 there at the Acres.
Yeah.
So that's how that is all working. Again, testing and vaccines are still in Phase 1B. I think we're about wrapping up Phase 1B, and we'll be moving soon to Phase 1C, which will open up the vaccine for adults 60 plus and other essential workers unable to work remotely. That's Phase 1C, but right now they're still trying to get to, again, Phase 1B, those adults over 75 and some of the other folks that maybe have complications or risks of complications, those frontline essential workers who can't work remotely, teachers, educators. Again, the push to get schools reopened. We've heard about that, right? Schools are now open now. Secondary schools have opened, the high schools, and we will be hearing about sports in just a moment on how that's happening as well.
Right.
So that's all coming back online.
Yes.
Which is great to see. But make sure you are registered if you want to get the vaccine, vaccinenm.org. Again, the state has been, I think, one of the best in the country when it comes to vaccine rollout and the percentage of population that's getting the vaccine. Mayor Duckett said our county is one of the higher ones in our state. The state's one of the higher ones in the country.
Yep.
And so that's all worth celebrating.
That is.
To get the word out. And again, if you have difficulties or need help, there is another number to get registered for the vaccine, 855-600-3453. That's 855-600-3453 for help, either registering online or if you don't have access to the internet, they can register you through that phone number.
Yep.
So there you go. Are we ready for our second guest?
Yes, let's do it.
Let me find where she is. How's that?
Sounds good.
All right, here we go. Our next guest coming up this morning. Joining us now to talk a little bit about the changes with the New Mexico Activities Association, the executive director of the NMAA, Sally Marquez, is on the phone. Good morning, and thank you for calling in this morning. We appreciate it.
Good morning. How are you doing?
Doing well, thank you. And I guess the question is, how are you all doing? There's been some reopening of some things to allow school sports to kind of start back up in a safe way, correct?
That is correct. I guess you can say it's anxiousness and excitement.
Fair enough.
Fair enough. Anxious but excited. So tell us which sports are back in play. Is it everybody or contact sports in play? What's going on?
So right now, beginning this weekend, it's cross country. Next week we will have volleyball, and then 2 weeks later, a week after that, will be football and soccer. But at this point, schools must be in a hybrid model for at least 14 days prior to participation. So once they get into hybrid, they have 14 days acclimation period where they're still practicing in pods. If their case counts are down, then they would be able to start participation.
And these are practices or actual sports schedules?
They are sports schedules. So after 14 days, they can open up their practices and begin competition.
I see.
So I'm assuming this shortens the season, and I guess that's just how that's going to be, or is this going to just sort of extend into the summer? How does that work?
Well, both.
Okay, yeah.
There you go. That's the short answer.
Yeah.
The seasons will be shortened. They'll be about 5 weeks long, and that's for fall and winter. And then we're hoping to start spring in April, and we have been approved to finish spring sports at the end of June.
Got it.
Okay. And Sally Marquez, we had heard that, I think maybe more for the football schedules, that you have changed a little bit of maybe the league or the class classifications, I suppose, and so the teams will be playing more localized or regional teams rather than having to travel to other parts of the state once the seasons get underway and the schedules get underway. Am I explaining that correctly?
You are explaining it correctly. In all sports, we are going to be regionally located. So our teams will be playing different classifications or their same classification in the same region. So you will not see those long travel trips. For example, if you have Los Alamos, they're not in the same classification as Santa Fe, but they're very close, so we're probably going to have them play each other because they're in the same area.
That makes sense. And so part of your role is also activities. So let's talk about music. Let's talk band, choir, orchestra. What about those things?
We have 25 activities, and music is one of them. Currently, we're waiting the public education department to give us the okay for singing and wind instruments. Those have been a little bit with COVID. You have to be very careful. Mask wearing with singing, of course, and then the instruments with COVID on the wind instruments. With COVID, you have to have covers, so on and so forth. So they've been really hesitant about getting those instruments back and singing in the classroom, but we have been told that within this week or next week that will open up with safe COVID practices too. But all our other activities have been going since the fall, and everything is virtual.
Got you. But and then I guess, Sally Marquez, there are some school districts that aren't going to be eligible to resume sports, and is that a school district decision, or is that because they're not in the hybrid model as you described earlier, or both?
Well, through the Public Education Department and Governor's Office, a school must be in hybrid in order to participate. And the reason for that is they need to make sure that kids are back in the classroom safely and in-person learning prior to doing their extracurricular activities. So we have some schools that have not been able to get back into hybrid, and so they are not eligible until they are in hybrid and they are in the classroom safely.
Great. And one more question about the singing. Is there like a specific type of mask requirement? I mean, we heard all these things about like gaiters and stuff not working, and I would assume if you're projecting, and I've sung with a mask, and it's not easy, but it's possible. What about that? Is there like a requirement, like has to be a surgical mask, has like that stuff?
Certain type of mask?
Yeah.
Yeah, the only requirement, it needs to be a cloth mask. So there's no gaiters. We can't have masks with filters. We can't have masks with holes. It just needs to be your traditional cloth covering.
Understood. And the other question that we had for you this morning, Sally Marquez, was just about maybe advice for parents and whose athletes have been chomping at the bit, you know, to get back on the field, get back into practice and things like that. Do you have any advice for your student athletes as they then resume and get back out there for the resumption of a shortened fall sports schedule and winter sports schedule coming up?
Yeah, I just had an athletic directors meeting, and we talked about it's not we're back to playing, but it's not like last year or the year before. You know, we have COVID safe practices guidelines, and we need to go back and realize that this is for the emotional, social well-being of students. It's not about the blue trophy. It's not about winning a game. It's getting kids back into their normal environment and make sure that they are safe. And let's get back to playing, and let's learn lifelong skills, and let's forget about the blue trophy, and let's just be happy and celebrate that they are back on the field and we are doing this safely.
Very good, and I actually think that that's a mentality that should continue forth. I think you're right. I think it's about emotional and character development, and should be less about the winning part. So hopefully that's going to be a lesson that we're going to carry forward. But Sally Marquez, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Sure thing. Appreciate you guys.
Thank you very much. That is Sally Marquez, Executive Director of the New Mexico Activities Association, speaking with us this morning on KSJE. We want to show you the watch list from the New Mexico Environment Department, and for the first time, I think, since the watch list began last fall, there is no San Juan County business on the watch list. So
huge.
That's good news.
Huge accomplishment.
No rapid responses in San Juan County. There is, however, still Home Depot on the watch list closure list, but they will be reopening, looks like tomorrow, after being shut down for 2 weeks. So that will be ending on the 26th. So good for them.
Yep.
There you go. And one final thing, one final note.
One final note, and this is a very exciting note. This is third vaccine note. So Johnson & Johnson, we've been watching that vaccine for quite some time, and there's been some reticence because the effectiveness rate has been sitting at 66%. However, something to bear in mind is they calculate that rate for global usage and testing of this vaccine. So in the United States, it's closer to 72% effective rate. But here's the great thing about this. So that's a stat that most people think, well, then why wouldn't I get a Moderna and Pfizer, because that's in the 90% effective rate.
Right.
But 72% is still going to prevent severe cases, death, hospitalization. So it's still a pretty high efficacy rate. But the most important thing is that it's a single-dose vaccine, which I think, when you take into account human behavior, getting people back for a second dosage within the time frame, I think it's been pretty successful thus far, but humans aren't very good at following through in general, I think, and it's a kind of a, organizational nightmare on some level.
So just doing it one shot.
Just doing one shot
would be easier, and maybe in some locations too would be easier if folks have a hard time getting to a clinic or getting to a place to get the shot in the first place.
Yes.
Only having to do that once would be better than having to go back
100%. Right. And then the final point on that is that perhaps the most impressive piece of the Johnson & Johnson vaccine is the way that you store and distribute. So it can be stored at regular refrigeration temperatures. So like you could throw it in my fridge, for example, as opposed to this sort of negative 20 dry ice situation for Pfizer and Moderna. And it can be kept in refrigerated temperatures for up to 3 months.
Nice.
So it's a huge, exciting development. Don't wait. If you get called up and it's the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, go take it. I mean, beggars can't be choosers in this situation. I think you get what you get. And so it's a super, I think, exciting update on the vaccine front.
Very true. And again, we are all saying, I think we all are in agreement, and that we want to reopen our businesses. We want to get the kids back to school, kids back on the athletic fields, kids back on stage. All these things we want to happen. The vaccine is a way to get there.
Yes.
And as we see, as the vaccine is being rolled out, the cases are coming down. A lot of other things are all working in the same direction, which we're so grateful for, is why we're in the yellow category this week. Hopefully get to green maybe in 2 more weeks.
Yes.
And again, more things reopen, more things move forward as we get to summer. Certainly a different summer than last year, which I think we're all would be hopeful for.
Oh my gosh, yeah, for sure.
Right?
And it is, I think vaccination is the key to normalcy, returning back. So.
Very true. And that's what gets us to that herd immunity thing too, isn't it?
Sure. Yeah, certainly it's part of that, for
Right.
sure. I mean, I think the traditional method of getting to herd immunity, which is just everybody catching the virus, it's a lot longer process.
That's right.
And B, a more dangerous process. We don't know.
Much more fatalities, for
Yeah,
sure. So,
much more fatalities. And we've talked about this before, is that you might think, hey, I'm young and healthy, but we could be walking around with underlying conditions without even knowing for years, and it's just not straight. It's not that straightforward.
Very true.
Yeah.
So anyway, vaccine is the way to go.
Yeah.
To get us to reopen, and again, whatever you're feeling, but whatever's comfortable for you. But we certainly encourage folks to get registered.
Yes.
So they're available.
Absolutely.
So there you are. All right, everyone. Cool. That is our program for this week. Our update. We appreciate you being with us. Week 50. Stay well and stay safe, and we will see you next Thursday right here on KSJE. Everyone, have a good week.